Larry Sharpe just stopped crying. I swear he was. He was weeping openly over Kathy Hochul winning. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But Larry
I was a babbling fool. Yes, I was crying like there's no tomorrow. Yes.
Okay, so for people who are not familiar, you should be, but Larry ran for governor as a libertarian both in 2018 and, well, you tried in 2022. Maybe we should start there. What the heck happened? And then we're going to get into zombie papers and what's the state of New York and all that good stuff. But yeah, what happened with
Yep.
your run?
I did try. I actually officially I did run, Allison. I did, but I ran as a write-in campaign because sadly in New York State, our judges don't like to put people on the ballot. They go out of their way to throw them off. So I was literally polling at 6% last December before I even announced. And so I thought, oh, good, I'm in a good spot. I'll get some other parties to get behind me. I actually went, believe it or not, to the Republicans and the conservatives and said, look, why don't you guys get behind me? I'm the independent candidate. We can actually win in New York State. It's 3-1 almost Democrat to Republican in New York State. Republicans can't win in a statewide election. Get behind me and we'll do it. And they said, you know what, Larry? Not only no, but we're also going to sue you in civil court to throw you off the ballot. And I went, well, thanks. And they did that. And they literally, we were in court a total when it comes to both federal and state 9 times. And we lost 9 cases. We're 0-9. Every time the judges said, no, we're totally fine throwing you off the ballot. And our arguments were simple arguments. One, I was on the ballot in 2018. 100,000 people voted for me. 100,000 people want to vote for me. Why wouldn't you put me on the ballot? Not just that. Every single year, 500,000 people in New York State, every 2 years, 500,000 people vote for a third party. Every single time. It's a constant. In fact, this year, it's funny, there were no third parties. 500,000 New Yorkers less voted than last time. The exact number that I mentioned literally in my papers, which is facts every single time. They literally did not, they just didn't care. I then said, so there's no harm if I'm on the ballot, they can just not vote for me. And I also said, wait a minute, this is literally Coke and Pepsi deciding what soda goes on the grocery store shelf. And they were like, we don't care. Every single thing I said, they did not care, and we lost all those. So I said, you know what? I'm going to run a write-in campaign, and I tried, and sadly, I did not do as well as I wanted to. I was hoping to get about 130 to 140,000 votes so that I could still try to get ballot access for my party next year. It looks like I'm going to be somewhere between 10 and 30,000 write-in votes. We don't know yet for sure, but I'll be in that area somewhere is what I think.
What was the argument for keeping you off the ballot?
Yeah, there were 2 things. One, they literally just changed the rules. They just went, in 2018, the rules were you need 15,000 signatures across the state. And it's the time frame, a specific time frame to do it was in the summer. And if you did that, you could get on the ballot. Your name will be listed. And then if your name was listed, you had to get at least 50,000 votes or more on the ballot. And it had to be only the governor. That's all that mattered. Nothing else mattered except the governor in New York State. So in 2018, for the first time in Libertarian Party history, I did that. I got the signatures and I got the votes. I got 100,000 votes when I needed 50. So I thought, great, we are now on the ballot. We're an official party. We can go running. And the next year I traveled the state trying to work on grassroots, which I think grassroots is more important than the governorship. I think grassroots is everything. So I went out there and I got 107 local victories across the state in 2019. And the state said, now that is a problem. Larry Sharpe's doing stuff. Let's end that. And with the stroke of a pen, in the budget, they literally ended my my party and said, yeah, we said those rules. No, the rules actually now are you have to get 45,000 signatures in 6 weeks. And they moved it to the spring, where in New York State, we still have snowstorms, as they tripled the number and said, by the way, even if you do get that, you don't need 50,000, you need 130,000. Well, our argument was, this is impossible. And we sued them in court. This is impossible. They said, no, totally possible. Then after the election of the balloting time came, nobody made it. I couldn't make it. The multi-millionaire couldn't make it. The sitting congressman, who literally is on a Republican line, tried to get an independent line. He couldn't make it. So nobody made it. So I sued again, saying, okay, you said it was possible. I told you it wasn't. Now I'm showing you it's impossible. So now can I get in the ballot? They went, oh, no, not at all. No, it's still possible. Okay, nobody made it. That's still possible. So then they got mad at me when I said, no, I did look, I have enough of the signatures. They went, no. See, these are the rules. For example, what they sued the Republican Party sued me on this. They said, wait a minute, you have to have 500 signatures from at least half of the congressional districts. That's part of the law. They made it impossible. So I said, wait a minute, during the 6 weeks, New York State literally had no congressional districts. I'm not joking. We had a lawsuit that ended our congressional districts. So for at least 2 to 3 out of the 6 weeks, there were no congressional districts. They did not exist. And they said, yeah, well, you should have guessed, I guess. And they just threw me off. So that was the reason for throwing me off the ballot.
And it was mostly the Republican Party that was.
It was all the Republican Party and conservatives. Yes.
It was all
because they were worried that I would actually come in second. That was their worry. In New York State, we are 3-1 Democrat Republican. Republicans never going to win a statewide election. They lie every year and say they're going to. They're not. They never are. They haven't won a statewide election now in 22 years. Nothing. Not governor, not senator, not AG, nothing in 22 years. My state is deep, deep blue. They're not winning. And it's statewide. Locally, they win, but not statewide. And I told them this openly. And the leadership of the Republican Party knows this. Like, I'm not the only guy who's figured this out, right? They know it also. But they want to raise money. So they lie to the constituents and they raise tons of money and then they lose. And I said he would lose between 5 and 10 points. He lost by like 6 or 7. I was exactly right. I knew it because you just can't win in this state, right? There's no way. So, of course, he lost. So what they've done was very smart. In New York State, as of now, today, or for the next years, for fundraising now, they no longer have to get people to fundraise because taxation will now pay for it. Now, New York State's going to pay for all of the primaries and all of the actual elections up to $100 million every year, which is the biggest reason why they threw me off the ballot. They knew I would collect that money too and actually make some impact. And they were like, well, we can't have that. We want that money for ourselves. So they literally will be taking the money because they know that right now people have given up in New York State. We're leaving in droves. We lose, I mean, maybe 10,000 people every single month, if not more, just leaving our state. Gone. Like so tomorrow. I'm sorry, that sounded doom and gloom, didn't it? I apologize.
Well, speaking of doom and gloom, Charlotte from Michigan says she's very sad and trying to wrap her head around this. Probably not New York, but what happened in Michigan. But what you're describing though sounds like people like it that way, or do they just not know? I mean, this is what you have to come to terms with after election day when you're sitting there and your head spinning. Is you may be focused on the candidate or the party, but we really have to come to terms with the fact, that there are a lot of people who voted for what you see right now. So what's up with that?
Well, I would say the opposite, though. A lot of people who just haven't voted at all.
That's true.
New York State had some.
They just feel like, why would they? Right? You're like, they don't feel like there's a candidate who represents them.
One of the arguments I said in court was one of the reasons. One of the outcomes of this terrible legislation is that more people will be disenfranchised. You'll have less people engaged in the process. It just said, nope, you're wrong. Literally, I was 100% right. The number I gave them was 500,000 because, again, that's data anybody can get. Every single 2 years, about 500,000 New Yorkers vote for the not them, right? That's like standard. There's 500,000 New Yorkers who are like, to hell with you guys, right? That's who we are, about 500,000 of us, every single 2 years. This year, we didn't have any third-party chances at all, and 500,000 people less voted than last time.
So
we had 6.5 million people vote last time and like 6 million this time.
So what are you going to do? I mean, before we get on to the topic of the day, are you going to keep trying or do you leave New York with everybody else that's leaving that says, I just give up. We can't fight the system here.
Well, like you said, a little time crying, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. I'm not really sure, to be forward with you. I mean, I don't have a party infrastructure here that's strong right now because while I have libertarians across the state and some are really aggressive and want to work really hard and I love them, the problem is once you're no longer a party, the average non-hardcore libertarian walks away and we get so few of them. They're not prepared to put in the time and energy because they're not hardcore. I'm not mad at them for it, right? We should have been better and had a party for them to walk in and we didn't. So it's very hard. So it's challenging. I have some ideas. I mean, it's possible I'll run for something again in 2024. It's possible I'll just pack up and leave, right? I'm not really sure what to do right now. I mean, Tennessee is calling me. I'm just saying it is. It's been calling me for a couple years now. But I love my state, to be forward with you. I love New York. I love the beauty of my state. I love the diversity of my state from across the entire state. And I'd rather not leave the place where I was born, where my family is, where my friends are, where my business is. I'd rather not. But I mean, I have to do what's right for my family also, right? I mean, you know that you made some choices in your life that you had to make for your family, and I'm gonna have to make some for mine too.
Well, let's talk about how zombie papers and the legacy press. I want to talk about both of them because
Oh, yes, yes,
this was
yes.
2018, right? Larry Sharpe's secret scheme to reelect Cuomo and defeat Trump.
Yep.
Okay. And then here in 2022, October 31st, NPR comes out with right wing zombie papers attacked Illinois Democrats ahead of elections. I'll be honest with you. When I read their article, I found it kind of, I mean, it was interesting. I had not heard much about zombie paper, so I get the idea. But what I thought was kind of funny is that I feel like the way they described him, I could also put NPR kind of in that category or a bunch of other legacy press outlets,
Yes.
just because, the things they're like, it's not real journalism because of its funding or it's
Right.
biased or, it has a particular political candidate in mind. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for how it's so different than you
Right.
anyway. But, but
I'm
let's
waiting
go
for
back
how it's
to
not the New York Times.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Is we're secret about it, but they're just,
Mm,
anyway. But so let's talk about this. This is it looks like it says like the Buffalo Chronicle on here.
yep.
And obviously it's coming up with this idea. One of my favorite parts was this is definitely something that the legacy press uses. Observers worry, or like experts
Mhm.
say, doctors
Yep.
are concerned, there's just who are you talking about? Just observers. Observers worry that Larry's
Yes.
doing this. Like, what observers? Who?
Yeah, but no, go down. Sharp is said to be.
Yeah,
By
Sharp
whom?
is said to be by who?
By
Yeah,
whom? Yeah, by the guy who wrote this. Right?
yeah,
Yes. But
yeah.
and the funny part is they say they don't even have to worry about it being real. Most people don't know this. Literally, I ran against Bill Weld in 2016 so that he would not be the Libertarian Party's vice president candidate. The person who ran against him is me. You can look that up. That's data. I lost by 31 votes. I spent my own time and money trying to stop that guy, literally. And they go, I said to be a puppet. I love it. That was let me cover a couple of these if I could. The first
Please.
one is there are lots of dirty tricks the two major parties use.
Yeah.
One of them is this. A second one, by the way, is actually attacking your social media or attacking your website. My website was attacked both times and knocked down more than once. So
Wow.
you have to have extra defense on your websites, extra defense on your Facebook page. They would actually do a mass of complaints against your Facebook page to get it taken down. They'll do a mass complaints against your Twitter to get it taken down. They'll do mass attacks against your website to get it taken down. They will have people who will literally go around and take down your signs across the state. They have teams that
Very
go around
neat.
to take your signs down. So that's tons of things. To include this one, which is they just make stuff up, right? They do stuff either online like this, and then they'll send it everywhere, right? They'll then take this through either Twitter or Facebook and send it everywhere, so that now people see it in multiple places, and they hope that someone else will pick it up, right? The hope is that the Buffalo Chronicle is a joke, but the hope is that some other paper will pick it up and go, the Buffalo Chronicle is reporting,
Oh,
and then
I see.
now that's the goal. The goal is to get some other paper to pick this up,
Hmm.
which now validates it.
That makes
That's the
sense.
goal. Now, the other
Which
thing they do, which is even go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, which I could totally see happening. And Larry, just like going back to, I feel like this is actually a really good educational opportunity for like just reading legacy press too, because just like you bring up, um, explains one party insider, explains the Republican official, which I don't even
Yes.
think is named. It's
Of
just,
course not.
it's funny. It is funny. All right, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, they had two others that came up saying that I was anti-cop, meanwhile anti-law enforcement. Meanwhile, my pop was in law enforcement, and that I was anti-gun. Meanwhile, literally, I was the only candidate who supported the Second Amendment openly literally in a debate. So when they do this, they can literally just make things up. Think Cuomo and defeat Trump. Trump wasn't running that year. This is 2018. How
Oh,
was I
right,
defeating Trump?
right,
So
right.
every
Well, in the
and the thing
future.
is, yes. So the advantage on this is all of these, how you know they're actually fake is that they are so absurd that there's no way that it could possibly be real. That's how you know it's fake. It's
It's a
like
zombie
this.
paper.
Yes. And here, Larry Sharpe's secret scheme. If it's secret, how do you know about it? Right? I mean, literally, right? Everything about it. But to be forward, when you are a left or right paradigm, these things actually hurt you. But when you're a third party like me, this helped me. How did I know I remember this? Because I shared it myself. Like my own team shared this. Because what third parties need is not good or bad, they need legitimacy. So even being part of a secret scheme still means I'm a player. I'm part of the secret scheme. So that
Tell me
means I'm a
the
player,
bad
right?
news. Tell me the bad news in a good way, as they say in what is that? Robin Hood Men in Tights. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
There we
It's
go.
one of
Yes, yes,
Dude,
yes.
I think it's Jon Stewart who says that when he's in the bathtub
Right.
as King Richard. Okay. Yes, you're right. So okay, so have we basically defined what a zombie paper is before we go on to NPR and the legacy press? Do
Well,
you
I'm
want to
not
just
done
do
though. I got to go further.
Oh,
The
please do.
strongest thing they use here, though, is not online. If they do online, they are then trying to get some other paper to pick them up online to legitimize
Mhm,
themselves, right? That's the goal. Or to get it
mhm.
spread so far that it seems legitimate. But they will also use physical papers, newspapers. They will create local papers. You might say, why would you do that? There's a couple reasons why. You can't cancel a newspaper. You can't shadow ban a newspaper.
Mhm.
It's a physical newspaper. And as long as the campaign's paying for it, you don't care about advertisers. So you can't cancel the newspaper because there's no ad revenue. So there's no one controlling the paper. So the newspaper is totally controlled. So you create a newspaper and you hand it out. You might go, who reads a newspaper? I'll tell you who. Voters do. If you read a local newspaper, you vote. I can guarantee you, meet anybody in your life who reads a local newspaper,
Yeah.
that person will vote. And that's why the physical paper is very strong. Paper has power. I should say that when I used to be in sales, right? Whoever has the paper in their hand is winning. So years ago, it's going to sound funny. Years ago, probably 20, 30 years ago, I used to sell cars. And at that time, people would go online, they would get the thing for the car and print it out and bring it to you into the sheet and go, you got to give me this price because I got it online. That was a thing people did 20 years ago. So now it's on their
Uh-huh.
phone, but this is years ago. So they would just do that. So I would say, great, let me see that paper. I would grab the paper and walk with the paper in my hand because now I have the power. So paper is power. So when they actually have newspapers, it's in the paper, particularly boomers and Gen Xers, particularly
Yeah.
us. When we see it in the newspaper, it's real. It's just real. So I feel that's another reason why they will use physical papers, even though someone who's younger, maybe millennials or Gen Z, might go, newspapers, that's dumb. Yeah, maybe for you guys it's dumb, but for us Gen Xers and us boomers, no. It's powerful. It lands and
Mhm.
we believe it even when it's wrong. So that's why they do it.
Well, my question about the ridiculousness of all of it, do you think though that like with the bias and political undertones in the legacy papers, like the New York Times or whatever your local paper is showing up at your door, makes it less likely you're going to catch that this is a zombie paper?
Yes, I do. I yes. For most people, a newspaper, if you read a newspaper, right? You look at most people will say under 30. It's rare people under 30 read a physical newspaper. It's rare, right? Some do, but it's rare. If you actually get a newspaper and you read it, it feels like it's real. Remember the thing about a newspaper. Everything is going on in your head, right? The voice you're hearing is your own voice. So when you read a paper, it's like, oh, that's real. That's real. And it feels real to you. It does. So I think it's very hard to tell. I think a lot of people who read the Buffalo Chronicle, they thought it was real. But again, if you're a third party, half the people who got the Buffalo Chronicle didn't know who I was. They had no idea who I was.
But now
So
they
the fact
do.
they would go, oh, who's this Larry Sharpe guy? And they would then go check me out and go, oh, I like this guy. So what actually happened, and this is the data we have for 2018, my polling didn't change. Some of the people who were Republicans who got upset and said, oh my God, he's a Cuomo plant, and went back to the Republicans and stopped supporting me. I gained a bunch of Republicans who didn't know who I was, and they're, oh, I like that guy, and they came aboard. So it was actually neutral. I got spread out more, and my polling didn't change.
Okay, so that's interesting. I want to ask you about that in 1 second. I also wanted you to respond to Master Malrubius, who says, late to the party, but I feel with mainstream media on the side of the left, there will be great difficulty in making any headway. It was constant election deniers and false claims of rising crime in the legacy media. And not just because I want you to respond to that specifically, but also because the thing I think that's interesting about these zombie papers, I wonder about if I'm correct on this one, is that they seem to be mostly, well, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but they seem to be mostly like Republican Party oriented. Is that because they're pushing against a Democrat bias in the legacy press, so they're fighting that battle, or what? What's the deal? Why do you think they're
Yeah.
coming from the right? It seems like, and then I'll just put the super chat back up real fast too, so you can see
Yeah,
that.
I think the master is has a valid point. However, there's a big however here. Mainstream media, number of media outlets, absolutely on the left, but eyeballs actually on the right. What do I mean by that? While there's only really one Fox News, it dominates the news, right? There's many other mainstream media that leans left, but Fox dominates it, right? I mean, the most popular guy on TV at night is Tucker Carlson. He dominates all the rest of them. So by numbers, you are correct. There are more left-leaning than right. But by eyeballs, it's about 50-50. So why does right do this? The right does this to increase its numbers. So now meaning numbers of things. So not many people read a Buffalo Chronicle, but as long as it matches up with Fox News at night, now we're good, right? None of people will read that one piece, but that matches now what they heard on the few right-leaning mainstream media channels. There are some. The New York Post here in New York City is right-wing media. You do find some of them, but again, there are 3 or 4 left-leaning ones. But the Post is a very popular paper. So I guess to his point, I think they're balanced. And why would I say that? Because look at so many of the election results. So many of them are almost 50-50. I mean, many are 41-49, 50-49, 52-48. There's a lot of them. So what people are trying to do, to be forward, it is rare that any of these actually, to his point, make any headway. They don't change people's minds. That isn't the goal. The goal isn't to change your mind. The goal is to motivate the base to get out. If the base gets out, they win. So I don't need, to convince, Master Malrubius that the Democrats are awesome. I don't need him to do that. What I need to do is get more Democrats to work, then I beat him. I don't beat him by convincing him. I beat him by getting more of my people to the poll.
I see. What I've always thought about Fox News Channel, and the reason that it wins in the ratings war is just because it is the only one, whereas the other ones split the pie. So they get lower numbers simply because
Yes.
the CNN audience person is the same as the MSNBC versus, the NBC and CBS. They're all splitting the same group, and Fox is the only one. So that's why they get more.
Yeah, I think the country's pretty much split. It is. And while the number of outlets, there's far more left-leaning number of outlets, but the actual eyeballs watching, it's kind of 50-50. There are some, and plus now when you go online too, right? Going online, streaming services, the right streaming services, I think, are far more effective than the left stream. I mean, CNN Plus failed. Peacock is at best mediocre. Daily Wire is killing it, right? Fox Nation, doing well, but not great. I think you find a lot more of them on the streaming side. However, YouTube, heavily left compared to the right. So YouTube goes far more further left than the right. But when it comes to, again, the right thing goes someplace else. It goes to locals. Locals is far more right than left. Rumble, far more right than left, right? You do find a left on those, but just not as much.
Is this, somebody in the chat was asking about this DuPage Policy Journal. I don't know if this is what you were talking about regarding zombie papers in Illinois. I would get the DuPage Policy Journal, though, through LGIS news service. I don't think it is fake or false necessarily. I appreciate a lot of the articles against Governor Pritzker and the Democrats. They seem to match up against any of the other mainstream news, and also had actual quotes. I don't know. I think you have
Yeah,
to
well,
figure out who's funding it, right? Isn't that usually?
yes, I think that's the issue, right? The hard part is, generally speaking, and this is not a 100% rule, but if you go down mainstream media, when the reporter actually does an actual report, if you read the entire report, every paragraph, and this is hard to get everyone to do, but if you do it, you tend to get a good idea of basic facts, which is nice, like AP or something like that. You tend to get a
Mhm.
good idea of facts. But then you do need, that's going to be biased, right? It's going to be. Now you've got to start thinking to yourself, where else do I want to go? So some of these papers are blatantly biased. You can tell if everything is like, these people are evil, it's bad. I mean, that's really the issue. So Michael says, I saw that. Polls give a false sense of security. Polls aren't for that. Am I going too far in this house? And is it okay if I give some inside baseball here?
Yeah, take it. Well, first, could we do this real fast?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I'm gonna work really hard at this one because the last time Larry was on, he told me I'm a crappy salesperson and I really need to up my wine game. So, okay, are you tired of establishment wine drinking? Are you tired of the grocery store trying to push out your favorite wine? Does your grocery store call you an extremist when you walk in? Do you get eyeballs? Well, you need some extreme altitude wine because it will match your anti-establishment election party where you're crying or celebrating wherever you are. Anyway, okay, that was my best beginning. But really, these are some amazing wines. I'm gonna let Larry take it away in a second. I should just say I just got my new shipment, the Tordos that you see on the left, which I should take down. Okay. Uh it's the Rogue Malbec. What better Malbec in honor of Larry's run or lack
The
thereof
rogue.
for governor, or your favorite candidate everywhere that probably lost also. Anyway, it's funny, what they probably weren't drinking was the Rogue Malbec. I had to cover the Hillary Clinton watch party in
Mhm.
Seattle in 2016, and there was a lot of happy drinking happening at the beginning, and then there was a lot of very sad drinking happening at the
Yes.
end, and just a lot of crying. And I will never forget like it wasn't a drum circle. It was I don't it wasn't a prayer circle either, because I don't think these people were real like prayer circle types, but they were definitely in a circle, and it was maybe a therapy circle. Maybe that's what you would call
That's
it. Like,
probably right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it was a therapy circle.
That's the
Anyway,
one.
yeah, if you are getting your therapy circle together today, you should definitely go to AllisonWinePromo.com and get 50% off some amazing wines and 50% off shipping. Again, these are wines I drink myself. Now that I'm not pregnant anymore, I can finally celebrate or
Yay.
mourn with the rest of you. So go to AllisonWinePromo.com, 50% off the wine and 50% off shipping. The holidays are coming. If you're looking for a gift idea for somebody who supports the channel or just supports free speech and wants to hear from different viewpoints that you don't hear in the establishment press, and this is a great way, if they're already a wine drinker, get them some wine that helps support my channel and also is unique, tastes great, from extreme altitudes, especially if they're extremists. They probably are if they follow me. If you're not an extremist nowadays, move out of your mom's basement already. It's time to do something with your life. Anyway, AllisonWinePromo.com. And let's move on to
Leave
coffee
that
real
up.
fast.
Hold on. No. Leave
Okay,
that up
this is what
because I
happened
want to
last
say
time.
two things. Yes. I want to say two things. Number one, if you love Allison like I do, if you think she's bringing you value like I do, now you might love me, you might hate me, but you're not going to hear me except in places like this. So you know what? She's bringing guys like me who can talk trash all day like that, like me here. So if you like wine, get wine here. If you're going to drink wine anyway, I hope you love wine. If you do, get it here so you can support this channel while still having your wine. But it's the second piece. If you ever want to have a conversation with somebody about something that's awkward or weird, you want to try to convince somebody of something, bring this wine. They will ask, where'd you get this wine?
Ah,
Oh, I heard about it on Allison Moreau show. You did? Yeah. And now this becomes a conversation starter. This wine can become a conversation starter.
it's your
That's why you
zombie
should buy it as a
paper.
gift. Yes. That's why you
It's
should buy it as a gift.
That's a great idea. I never thought about that. It's a great
Yep.
subversive tactic. Bring over
Yeah.
something that prompts the conversation, and then yeah, and then talk about where you got it. That's a great idea. Okay,
Absolutely.
well, you can do that with the coffee too. You get
Yes.
10% off your first order, guys. Organic, high altitude roasts from Nicaragua. light roast, dark roast. I drink these. I just got an espresso machine. My mom and dad bought me one for Christmas. It came early, thank God, because I need coffee, unlike anything else right now. God and coffee. That's how I start my day.
There
But
we go.
anyway, the espresso is very good. You know what, Larry, I am doing now is a raw milk latte.
Ooh,
So yeah, so
nice.
I should put up the banner for it. I have raw milk from my local farm. I have the
Yep.
espresso from twinenginecoffee.com, and I put real vanilla extract in my coffee. So I'm not drinking any of that crap GMO corn stuff.
Look how
Anyway,
good you are.
I'm trying. So, and you know what? I got my twin engine coffee for it. Also, if you like tea, don't forget we don't leave tea drinkers out. Katura tea, which is tea you make from the coffee fruit. It's very good. It tastes a lot like black tea. And I don't know. You could maybe make a latte with that, but this is the espresso. This is what I start my day with nowadays. And my espresso machine, I'm very excited about. I tried very hard to find one that was completely stainless steel and not made in China. So I have, if you're interested, the Gaggia is what I went with. It's Gaggia. It's affordable for a home barista machine. If you're looking at stuff like that, go get the Gaggia. I don't get kickbacks from them or anything, but it's pretty easy to use. And I make my own lattes now at home. It's awesome.
That's
My
your
own
problem.
coffee.
Kickbacks. That's your problem, Allison. No kickbacks.
What?
No
I don't get
kickbacks. That's your
kickbacks.
problem.
I
Give me some
know.
kickbacks. That's your problem.
I should write them. You're right. What am I
Yes.
talking? Why am
Get
I
some
bragging
kickbacks.
about that?
Absolutely. Get some kickbacks.
I
Yes.
shouldn't be bragging about that.
I-
Okay. So let's real fast. Let's go to
So
NPR
I
because
wanted to go to polling too. Don't let me stop with
oh,
polling.
polling. Yeah. Polling.
I
Do
want to do
that.
that
Yeah,
too.
go
If you
ahead.
want to do this one, it's fine. But I also want to do polling. It does matter. Some of your audience needs to hear about how polling works.
Okay,
When do you want to go first?
I'll bring it back up. These polls give a false sense of security. Go for it.
Yes. What people don't realize is most politicians don't use polling for any reason except to raise money. That's the number one reason why they use polling. What they'll do is they'll do internal polling, which you won't see, and that'll tell them where they actually are. Then they'll do push polls or the types of polls that will show something, and they'll go, hey, raise money. And the poll will either say, I'm on my way to the top. Hey, Michael, you got to give me money so I can close the gap. Or here's a poll, I'm winning. Make sure I can hold my, my lead against the other guy. Give me money. Or I'm way behind. How do I catch up? Do they do things that try to make you raise money usually? People don't understand is polls cost money. They don't just do polls. When I was running in 2018, I asked, why am I not in a poll? And they went, oh my God, you got to buy the poll. And I was like, what? Well, buy the poll, you'll be in the poll. Oh, that's how that works? Yeah. How much does the poll cost? $40,000. So if I want to be in Quinnipiac, if I want to be in Indo-Siena, I got to drop 40K so that I can be in a poll, right? Then I get to ask my own question, by the way. And you'll know it's a push poll if when they show the data behind it, they don't tell you what the questions are, right? If they show you the questions, it's not a push poll.
Okay.
If they don't show the questions, and what a push poll is this. You get a bunch of questions, Allison. Hey, Governor Kathy Hochul, did you know Governor Kathy Hochul wants to kill you? And you, what? I didn't know that. Did you know that Republican Lee Zeldin also wants to rob your car? What? He wants to rob my car? Oh my God. Did you know Larry Sharpe wants to pet your dog? He does. Okay. If the election was today, would you want to vote for, Zeldin, Hochul, or Larry Sharpe? That's a push poll. So I ask questions up front that are negative against my opponent and are positive towards me. Then I ask the question. That's called the push poll. And in that one, you will see very often the person who wants it looks better. And in my case in New York State, Zeldin did a bunch of those, which is why I made it look like he was doing better. They were all push polls. And so he did that so he could raise money because he was running out of money at the end. Why was he running out of money? Because big donors only want to put money into a race where they can get something out of it. So they realized at the end Zeldin wasn't going to win, which what I had been telling them for months. And they stopped giving him money. So he's like, how do I get money? Well, I got to now get the small donors to believe my lies. So to do that, I have to have a poll, which will validate my lies. So he does that. And again, this isn't just Republicans. In my case, it was, but this is all of them, right? In my case, it was Republican, but Democrats do it too. So these are push polls.
Okay. I want to go to locals real fast. I got some other questions too earlier when I posted last night about your coming on today. Are the rules used to keep you off the ballot law or just rules at DMSR asks? And do such rules have standing under the New York State Constitution?
They are election law, if that's helpful at all, which was actually passed through a budget. How it works, generally speaking, is in New York State, we rarely pass laws in New York State anymore unless there is some type of publicity required behind it. We just do budgetary items and we put money behind something. So we do it. We'll say, here's what we want to do, and here's the money behind it. Legislature, will you authorize the money? By default, making it a law. That's how we do it in New York State. It's completely terrible, not in our Constitution, and has become the norm. It is embarrassingly bad. The second thing we do is we create a commission for something. Like we want to figure out how to deal with cars. We create the car commission, and the car commission puts out regulations. Those regulations, if they aren't countermanded by our assembly within 30 days, are now law. And some of you, you want your head to explode. Yes, because that's stupid. To the person's question, it's not in the Constitution at all. We just made that up and no one stops it. Our judges in New York State are embarrassingly bad. And this is examples of that. They should be stopping most of these laws. They don't. They just go, okay, that sounds good to me. That's it. So I hope that answers your question. It is really, yes, they're not laws, but they are laws.
Okay. NPR, right-wing zombie papers attack Illinois Democrats ahead of elections. I
Yes.
recommend people read this because I actually got a good laugh out of it. Since late summer, many Illinois residents have been receiving newspapers they haven't paid for, in many cases, even heard of. Each
Yep.
paper has a clear-cut tagline, real data, real news, which
Yep.
sounds a lot like what you see when you're watching CNN or whatever else.
No. That one is much more right-leaning people want to hear real. Because remember,
Oh, they like the word real?
correct. Yes, that's right-leaning.
Okay.
Yes.
What do left-leaning people like? Emotion?
Yes. If you generally speaking, the more you lean left, the more you believe the government is right and true and just, and you want things that are credentialed. This is not 100% rule at all. This is very much a probably 60, 80% rule in that regard. If you lean left, you want things that are credentialed. You want the professional said so, the lawyer, the doctor, the politician said so. If you lean right, you want more of the real guy who knows his stuff said so. It's a different way of looking at it.
Okay, I see. So I want your thoughts on this. They write, what and how those issues are presented in these papers constitutes a sharp departure from the way journalists at more mainstream news outlets, even point of
Yes.
view journalists, have covered the news for decades. For one thing, at least in the hard copy editions reviewed by NPR, the papers makes no such clear and overt disclosures about their agenda in print other than the overwhelming thrust of their articles. Okay, do you think does that make them different than the legacy press? I mean, I don't know. That confuses me. I feel like they don't make it very clear either, but still have pretty strong bias in their reporting.
Yes. NPR will rarely say something like, Trump is bad. They rarely will say it that clearly. What they'll do is they'll do 7 stories on people around Trump who've done something bad or accused of something or something like that. So they will give you nuance that says, Orange man bad, which is what NPR is very good at, right? The left is very good at saying Trump bad. And I know some people will say, if you have left-leaning listeners, please don't be upset. I'm not trying to make you upset. I'm right. I live in New York City. I know lots of Democrats, a lot of people lean left. Well, one unifier of the entire left is Donald Trump. One thing they all can agree on is they hate Donald Trump. Like there's no tomorrow. That will make it work every single time. If Donald Trump is in Florida and gets sick, there'll be 6 Democratic doctors running down there. Be like, don't die. I'll give you my kidney. Whatever. Just you got to stay alive. So we can keep making you the boogeyman and people will rush out and vote against you. And so I think that is how places like NPR and MSNBC. No, MSNBC is actually clearer. This is going to sound crazy. I respect MSNBC more than CNN. And some people might say, why? Because MSNBC at least is more open. They're like, we hate Republicans. They're all evil. And aren't they terrible? CNN pretends to be neutral and is still saying they hate Republicans. I respect NBC better.
Yeah, that I guess that's my big picture question for you about these zombie papers versus legacy press, because in NPR's article, of course, they're dogging these papers as I don't know, fake plants, right? To get people
Right.
to think they're real. They're using the gravitas of the legacy press to push this thing that's dirty that they don't do. They would never do this. But what's worse, though, that just like observers say Larry sucks paper, or the NPR's CNNs of the world? I mean, what
I would argue that I get what their point, right? The point of I disagree with this argument. I'm just going to tell you what their argument is. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
Their argument is we're better because the people that we say are credentialed, which
Yeah.
makes us better, right? So if
Right.
a Harvard trained doctor says Michael's a bad guy, then that makes it okay because a
Mhm.
Harvard trained doctor said
Yep.
Michael's a bad guy. See, we're better than you. And they go,
Mhm.
no, this is just people saying Michael's a bad guy. So in their minds, they are better because they are credentialed. And I think for literally dozens of years, decades, maybe even more, that was the norm. Most Americans wanted to hear experts say things. That was very common. Now that's not true anymore. Some Americans want that. A lot of Americans have been so mistreated or lied to by so many people in positions of authority that so many of us don't want to believe them anymore, right? They don't want to believe it. And I think we have to come to a point. Look, I get that we don't trust our institutions, but in a smart, savvy, successful society, we should. Now, that does not mean that we should all of a sudden start trusting them. They've given us many reasons to not trust them. But if we wanted to actually have institutions, us trust them again, institutions would have to be crazy transparent, insanely transparent for years. Because
Mhm.
even if tomorrow they became transparent, many Americans still wouldn't believe them. We would have to watch them for years and go, all right, you know what? Maybe I'll believe you again. And in what world would a government organization or agency accept that kind of scrutiny for 10 years or whatever it would take for us to trust them again? I think we're in trouble. That's the issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. But since you brought up Trump and we're talking about the press, this was just written by Margaret Sullivan in mid-October, and it sort of purports itself to be a new idea that if Trump runs again, do not cover him the same way. Journalist manifesto, basically, we got to do it differently. But I don't know if you're familiar with the New York Times article. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but there's a New York Times article that in 2016 that said Trump is challenging the norms of objectivity, so we just got to do things differently. So they're repeating the call to do things differently. Like we have to, she basically says we have to dump old style journalism. You can't show both sides when you know for sure that one side is basically a liar, filthy dog. Like you're just, we, and there she's like, well, we just know Trump does things differently. He's dirty. And so we have to rise above that basically, and go after him. We can't just like say what he says, but the other people we can say what they say because it's probably true. But with him, like you were saying, I mean, for it's just it's he is an existential threat. So the first thing that I noticed about this was that she thinks it's like this is not a new thing. I don't know what she's talking about. Cover him the same way. I mean, I didn't see that covering him in 2016 as if everything was just roses, and dandelions. But she's saying we can't do that now. We really have to go after him this time around. We really have to go after him. It just made me think of what you were saying. Like here, I believed in traditional reporting, but Trump changed me, and it should change the rest of the media too. As if somehow, like for the last, I don't know. I feel like she's been living under a rock for 6 years, or maybe we live in different realities. I feel like it did change
That's
the
probably
media.
true. Yeah, but I'll cover two pieces here. The first thing you said, two different realities. Look, I travel my state, New York, every single year. Most people don't know this. As I said, I love my state. I'm not joking around when I say that. I literally go to all 62 counties in my state, and I have every year for 5 years since I ran in 2018. I've covered the state 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Every single county. And when I go, I don't go fundraiser to fundraiser. I literally go diner to gun shop to vape store, right? To all types of places that individual people into a park, wherever I can possibly go. And people do live in separate worlds. I'll go to one area in a city and they'll be like, Trump is the evilest guy in the world. And oh my God, he's going to come. He's going to destroy. He's going to eat your babies. And I'll go, to the next place. And they'll be like, Trump was the greatest president we ever had. And it's in the same state. And literally they could be 10 miles away and they think completely different about the same individual. So I do think we do live in different worlds. But the second piece is, well, one thing also I do is I watch a lot of mainstream media. I accept your condolences. So I will watch MSNBC for a half an hour. I'll watch, a half an hour of CNN. I'll watch a half an hour of Fox. I will watch all of those so that I can get a feeling of where people are and what's going on. And if you watch it often, you'll notice that if you watch one or the other, in certain cases, it's like they don't understand there's a problem in one case or the other. Now to your specific point about Trump. They can say whatever they want. What the press's job is, it's not to give us information. It's not to make us feel good. The press's job is to get eyeballs. That's it. And if Trump gets eyeballs, they will cover Trump. The question is, will Trump still get eyeballs? If he gets eyeballs, they're gonna cover him. If someone else gets more eyeballs, they're not. It doesn't matter if he's right or wrong or good or bad. They don't care. So if Trump is still saying stuff that makes people want to watch, guarantee they're going to cover him because they want people watching. That's how it works. My worry for Trump supporters, if you're a Trump supporter, does it actually work anymore, right? Recently, Trump had a bunch of losses yesterday. And, maybe DeSantis is the guy or whatever. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen in the Republican Party. But all these are maybes. And if these things, if any of these things where Trump isn't as powerful, they may not follow him as much. But the opposite side, the Democrats, you're saying these people are saying, don't follow him. Democrats paid good money to get Trump-backed people on the ballot, right? I mean, they literally were writing checks to these campaigns and they were actually doing ads that were supporting Trump-backed candidates because the Democrats believed that they would lose in the midterm because they were too extreme. So they believed. And in many cases, it actually worked. Not in all of them, obviously, right? Some Trump-backed people won. But the majority overall actually didn't win. So the left might go, you know what? Maybe this Trump guy's a good guy. So I guess what I'm saying overall is what this person says, I don't think actually matters. I think what matters is, will the eyeballs be on Trump? If so, they will cover.
Let's take a couple questions for you from locals before we wrap this up. Don't forget, everybody, become part of my editorial board at AlisonMorrow.locals.com, and you can put questions in ahead of time for the people that I bring on, which is awesome because most of you all have better questions than I do, and it's a great way to support my work as well. It's free to get content there, but you do get some exclusives if you're a supporter. It's $5 a month, $5 a month to ask Larry, Dr. Robert Malone, all kinds of the most censored people on the internet, $5 a month to go direct with them and ask questions. Come on. It's the best deal on the internet. Ask him for more details on the drug and prison issues. I don't trust the newspaper to represent what his stance is. That newspaper, I guess I wasn't clear enough that was a fake newspaper. So they read that article about you in the Buffalo Chronicle. What about drugs in prison, I guess?
Yes, no, I have done many. In fact, if you go to my YouTube page, Larry Sharpe, and you will see that I've done many pieces on, I visit prisons all the time. And I visit them not just for prisoners, but I visit them actually, believe it or not, for corrections officers. My father was a corrections officer at Rikers Island. So I really am, I am attuned, I guess, or I care about the corrections officers. I do want prison reform. Without question, I want prison reform. But I want prison reform that includes corrections officers as part of it. The problem is we often just care about the prisoners only and not the people who we charge to guard them. And we need to have real prison reform with that. That's important. So the second piece, crime. I would love criminal justice reform. I think possession is not a crime. I don't like possession being a crime. It shouldn't be. If you do something to get the thing that's illegal, like you rob somebody or hurt somebody or kill somebody or whatever, that's a crime. Punish people for their actions, not for what they have physically. Now, again, with that, what about letting people out on bail? The concept of bail reform, making it fairer, it's a wonderful concept, but you've got to do it right. And we did not do it right in New York State. In New York State, we should have focused bail reform on one thing, and that is the first-time offender. If you look at the people who are going back out and committing crimes, all of them are multiple-time offenders. All of them are multiple-time offenders. You give the first-time offender a break. They might have made a mistake, maybe some young kid doing something stupid. You give that kid a break. That makes total sense. Some guy who's been convicted 3 times, why are you letting them back out? I don't understand why that's happening. So that's my bail reform, prison reform, criminal justice reform.
And showing your YouTube channel here so everybody can go subscribe.
Yes.
Also, you're on Twitter. Is there anywhere else people should go to follow you?
If you actually want all my policies, I am the only candidate. I'm very serious. I'm the only candidate that has tons and tons of actual policy listed. In fact, you're right now on my YouTube page. If you go to videos and you go down a bit, you will see 8. I'm sorry, not live. Go to live. I'm sorry, go to lives. I apologize. Go to lives, not videos, lives. And you go down a little bit. What you will see is 8 hours straight. Go down a little bit longer, a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. Right there in the middle, right there. 8 hours of New York State policy. I went straight 8 hours without stopping. Actual policy of New York State. That's what I did. If you go to my website, you will see my policy listed. I spoke about it and I ran out of time. So I will give you lots of things. I ran out of time. I went 8 hours and I left. So yes, you want to hear what I have to say? There are my policies right there.
All by yourself? 8 hours all by yourself?
Correct. Yes. I just sat there for 8 hours.
You didn't have to go to the bathroom or anything?
Nothing. Didn't eat. Nothing. I spoke
You didn't have a Gatorade bottle under your desk?
Nope. I just had I had 2 things. I had coffee and water. That's all I had. And I was done. Yes.
That's a reason to vote for you just in and of itself. Okay.
Hardcore.
Opinions on the Second Amendment rights and where he sees our country now under Biden, Harris, and Democrat majority rule.
Second Amendment. I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. I do not want, I believe in my heart that more an armed society is a polite society. I believe that people should be able to defend themselves as they see fit. The Second Amendment is not about guns. The Second Amendment is about the right to bear arms. You should be able to defend yourself as you see fit. That's it. If you don't like guns, please don't buy guns. If you want to buy guns, you should be able to if you want to. I think it's okay to defend yourself. So yes, I am a proponent of the Second Amendment for another reason. It is an equalizer, right? I'm from the city, and most people are like, "Oh, city folks hate guns." That's true. Many of them do. I'm not one of them. Why? Because a gun is an equalizer. If you look at the poorest neighborhoods in the cities, the people who are being assaulted, the people who are being hurt, they're all elderly people or moms with kids. They are people that the thugs realize will not fight back, cannot fight back. But imagine if just one old guy pulls out a pistol and puts a bullet in the thug. All of a sudden, things decide to change right there immediately. All of a sudden, things change. So yes, I think that is important, that you should be able to defend yourself. Yeah, the most popular one here in New York City, right? Is the most popular example in New York City is that bodega guy who was being stabbed and defended himself by stabbing a guy, and he went to jail in New York City. It's insane. That guy was literally being accosted by a guy who was younger, stronger, bigger, and may have killed him. And his girlfriend before that stabbed him, literally stabbed him. He had blood on his hand from where his girlfriend stabbed him. Then his girlfriend's boyfriend came to go beat him up. In my view, he could have drawn down and shot him. I'm not joking. That's a true story. He could have shot him. I don't care. You cannot attack someone like that. That is a problem. You should be able to defend yourself, right? Your actions matter, not just what you have on you. So anyway, I went a bit long, but yes, I'm a proponent of the Second Amendment.
This guy, Larry Sharpe.
Sorry, last piece I'll bring up. He's about the Democrats. Democrats running stuff. I don't care. Republicans have run stuff. Democrats run stuff. The system is broken, right? You never forget this. Bush got us Obama. Obama got us Trump. Trump got us Biden. All we're doing is pushing off pain for 4 or 8 years. If we don't change the system, the pain's still coming. And the change is third parties, multiple parties to end the fighting, to have a place to come together. And that means a third party. Look, if there's 2 people who are fighting, whether they're a couple, whether they're a family, siblings, whether they're business partners, if they can't talk, you get a third party in to negotiate. We need a third party, whatever that party is. I clearly believe Libertarian Party is the answer. However, I'm biased, but I think that is the actual answer. If we do that, I think things will change.
Okay, Citizen Zeus, this guy Larry Sharpe is, as his namesake says, he's super sharp. I like him and I would hire him. I'm not sure for what. He sees the insides of things and not simply the exterior. Also, Bill Van Ram, what about zombie candidates getting elected? Fetterman.
No, his point's a valid one. Here's the reason why. Please put that back up. That's brilliant. He's right. Because the reason, Bill, is right now in today's world, because of what I just said of a two-party evil person system, we're not voting for anybody. We're voting against somebody. So the person on the other side does not matter. People were voting against Oz. It did not matter who Fetterman was. I joke about this, but I mean it seriously. Biden, people weren't voting for Biden. They weren't like, Biden's awesome. That was not, I know Democrats. They were not like, Biden's awesome. They were like, oh, Trump dead, world's gonna end. Biden could have been a ham sandwich, and they would have voted for the ham sandwich over Trump. And the same, they voted against Oz. Fetterman could have been a ham sandwich. He would have got it. That's the zombie candidate. Bill is exactly right.
That is hilarious. That's so true. Yes. Okay. Yes. Final question. Which state is the most corrupt in the United States other than California on election day? Pennsylvania or New York? Or do you have another one in mind?
Illinois is pretty bad. Jersey's pretty bad too. They're all pretty bad. So now we're trying who's the most. It's a tough question. I think the worst one actually probably is Jersey is the most corrupt. Probably Jersey, because Jersey just said like government and mob together. So no one even goes to jail in Jersey, right? At least in New York, sometimes people go to jail, and in Illinois, sometimes people go to jail. No one goes to jail in Jersey. So maybe Jersey's the worst because they've done it so well. No one goes to jail anymore. Maybe that's it.
Are you familiar with this? On October 29, 2002, President Bush signed the Help America Vote Act of 2002.
I don't know what that is.
I don't either. I'll have to look it up. Thanks for the maybe Michigan.
Interesting is giving us homework now.
New Jersey strong. Okay, Larry, thank you
for coming on. I wasn't joking. He knows.
Yeah,
he knows.
Well, you watch out for the accents there. I mean, they're pretty serious. So I don't know. I feel like you don't mess with somebody from Jersey, if you're from somewhere else. So just, okay, whatever. You want dead people. You know what? I can't even say what the tactics would be because YouTube will strike me, even if I'm just joking about it. Yes. Upstate New Yorker here. The machine politics in New York in the state assembly is crazy.
100%. Totally correct. Yes. The way the machine works is embarrassingly bad. It's to a point where a lot of good people won't run, right? This is the thing you remember in New York State, and this is some of our people go to jail. But here's the thing to remember. In the last couple years, like 5 or 6 people have gone to jail. And every single time, this is the most important piece to understand, the defense is never, I didn't do it. Right? They never go, well, was it me? Or I made a mistake, or that's the other guy, or you're wrong. The defense is everybody does it.
Right.
That's their defense. The defense is I can't get anything done unless I'm corrupt. The system is corrupt. I have to be corrupt to get anything done. That's the defense. And the judges go, yeah, you're right. It is terribly corrupt, and you go to jail. So the judges don't change anything. They put them in jail knowing that more people are right behind them getting ready to go to jail because you can't do anything unless you're corrupt, which is why so few good people run for office here because they don't want to be corrupt.
Final question also in the live chat on Locals. Thank you for the earlier answer. You said Republicans made it hard for you. Can you name the top 3 individuals you know were involved in working against you that you are aware of?
Sure. I don't mind at all. Nick Langworthy, who is the chair of the Republican Party here. Jerry Kassar, who is the chair of the Conservative Party here. Those 2 people were probably the 2 biggest ones, I would guess. Zeldin didn't care. He could have stopped any of it. He didn't. He didn't do anything about it. And a guy named John O'Connor here, who actually was the person who started the actual objection against me being on the ballot itself. Probably those 4. 2 of those are Republicans, 2 of those conservatives. And I don't mind. I'll say right to their face. They know. I mean, the sad part is most of them stabbed me directly in the back. They knew, and they were like, yeah, we'll just screw this guy over. And the worst part is of all of this is that they knew they couldn't win. So they knew that they would throw me off the ballot, that I could make real change. All my policies have been on my website for 5 years. They could just take my policies if they want to and be better. I spoke with them saying, what can you guarantee me so I could walk away? Nothing. They weren't going to win. They knew they weren't. They were able to take $12 million of Republican donor money, grift it into Nick Langworthy, who was supposed to save our state and make sure we take the governorship back, last minute decided to run for Congress, and he's now a congressman. He won yesterday. So he's a congressman. He grifted himself into Congress. He's 30-something years old. Amazing grifter. And then Zeldin was worried that he was going to lose his seat in Long Island. He was worried he might lose it because of redistricting. So he said, how can I grift? Well, I'll run for governor, raise millions of dollars, give a bunch of money to people so that they'll love me and like me so I can buy myself a job. So about a month from now, you're going to see Lee Zeldin either as a law firm, a nice high-powered law firm, or he'll be a lobbyist, one of the two. So he'll be set perfectly. They grifted perfectly off of us. They'll all be good. And Jerry Gassar, who runs the Conservative Party in New York State, he was able to get Mike Pence to show up, and he got $500,000 in one day of fundraising. So, yeah, they all just grifted, knowing they would all lose. That's the bad part.
Best advice before you go to voters in the United States of America.
Yeah. This is going to sound weird, but I mean this tremendously. To the best of your ability, you have to vote against the establishment. Why does that matter? Not showing up is what they want. Being apathetic, you're not winning. You have to make an actual vote against the system, which means you want to vote in two ways. Number one, every single time they have a proposition, vote no to it. Every time. Every time. I don't care what it is. No on everything. Just no on everything, right? Number one. Number two, always vote for a third party. If you don't like libertarians, I get it. I think we're the best and the smartest, but it's fine. Then vote for the Greens, vote for right in your cousin, whatever. When they see chunks of people not voting for them, that will move them. If you stay home, they still win. But once that percentage is changing, how do I know that? It's happening in Georgia right now. You're seeing it happening in Utah right now. And the last piece is support anything that's electoral change. If you think open primaries are a good idea, if you think ranked choice voting is a good idea, if you think multiple primaries is a good idea, whatever you think is appropriate. I like all of these things, right? Whatever you want. If you think easier ballot access is a good idea, but pick the things that you care about and support those. Support electoral change. What the voting matters because if they voting is what they care about, because that's how they make their money.
Larry, thank you. I think I hear my kids have like hogtied my husband, and he's needs some hostage relief right now. So I'm going to run. There's no better person to catch up with after election day than you, especially since everybody finds all of your thoughts fascinating. Well, at least I do, and the chat seems to appreciate it as well. And I can be a new mom on 3 hours of sleep and still get something out of it. So
there we go.
Thanks. Thank you. Any final thoughts? I think your last statement was great, but anything else before we go? Don't forget to go find Larry on YouTube and watch his 8-hour stream.
I am on all the interweb stuff things. Larry Sharpe, from Twitter to TikTok to YouTube. Please follow me. And I'm also very responsive when I'm online. I respond often. So please pop on. I'd love to hear from you all.
Okay. And thanks for the help with the ads. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. And wine.
Yes, buy your coffee and wine. Yeah, and go support Larry too. See you guys later. Thanks again.